Internet
Yay!
to say hi to the folks out in the world. Hey, this is Lacey, your Las Vegas gal. I'm here with Amber Coleman from Guild Mortgage here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are coming to you live this morning, just hoping to kind of answer some of your questions about what's happening in the real estate market, if you're thinking about buying a house, what you should do, what you should be thinking, what your mindset should be, all those things we're going to cover today during our little live broadcast. I want to preface this by saying that we've had some camera difficulties and audio difficulties and signal difficulties. So if you see a delay in us chatting to you and our mouths matching up to what we're saying, please forgive it. If you hear an echo, we hope you don't because we think we overcame it, but please forgive it. And, we're just here to kind of hopefully bring you a message of hope and try to share some insight with you because right now is a really scary time. So welcome, Amber. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You always bring such a ray of sunshine with you anytime we have a chance to talk. And I know you and I both have been phone warriors over the last week and a half, just constant, all day, every day, phone call, with people who are stressing, who are nervous, who are scared about what's going on. So talk to me about kind of what you're hearing from the people you're chatting with and how you've been kind of helping them calm their fears.
Well, some of the main concerns that people are having when I'm talking with them is, a lot of the people in Las Vegas are out of jobs because we're shut down for 30 days. So
Right.
they're nervous about buying a house while they're out of a job, which is understandable. They're nervous about the economy, where it's going, the housing market, where it's going. There's a lot of just fear out there in a lot of ways. Either it's being out of a job or it's a fear with the housing market, and the economy because a lot of people are out of work right now.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do to help people, and this is really just a personal feeling that I have because of what I went through. So if you don't mind, I can go back and kind of share like my experiences that I've had in the past. Do you mind if I go through that?
I think that would be great, Amber. I think, since I met you, I'll preface your story with this. Since we met a couple years ago and really kind of hit it off, started doing work together, realizing we have that mutual respect for each other and how we do business, I've always been super impressed with how you're always able to relate what's happening at any given moment to either a personal story or something that you've gone through yourself with another client. And it's always just brought me a great deal of comfort, and my clients a great deal of comfort, because you make it relatable and you kind of dumb it down so that we're not hearing all these terms we don't really want to hear. So I appreciate you opening up and always being willing to do that. And I would love for you to share your story.
Well,
I think it's
thank you. I
important.
appreciate that. Thank you. So, and here, for me to share my mindset when I'm trying to help other people back, it usually comes from where I gained that mindset from.
Right.
So, like, sometimes a lot of people right now are feeling a little bit of flashbacks from 2008, what happened 2008, 9, 10, 11. And when I was in that time frame, I wasn't immune to any of the feelings that were then.
Yeah.
In fact, I was going through it all with everybody. I lost my house. It came to a point where I wasn't making enough money to where they had to come take my car. At the same time, my medical situation became worse and worse, and they took my driver's license. So I was stuck in my house for a year and a half. And not only that, because I lost my house, I was stuck in a rental house. So when I was in the rental house, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because it gave me a greater mindset of owning a house. And here's why. I was blessed with the worst landlord that a person could possibly ever have.
Oh.
The economy was up and down, kind of like what we're fearing right now. We haven't experienced it, but we're fearing it because of where things are going so fast. So the economy was up and down. She was wanting to sell every other day. I had a year lease. I had, I couldn't sleep very well at night because I wasn't owning my own future.
Right.
And so what I realized at that time was I needed to be able to own my own life. Even if at first that meant me getting a loan for a mortgage, which meant I needed to get my credit up, which meant a lot of things, which I was driven to do at that time.
Right.
So I ended up putting all of my attention and focus, and I didn't even care if the economy was going to go down more or whatever, because I needed to have my family safe in a house. I needed to be able to sleep at night knowing that somebody's not going to call me the next day and say, sorry, you need to get out of my house. And what I realized was that regardless of whether I was renting or I was owning, I was still going to be making a monthly payment.
Yep.
So it was better for me to own my own future and to be able to pay my own mortgage. And then after that, I think we've talked about since then, that was 10 years ago.
Right.
Since then, I worked out a savings plan to where I was able to pay off a house within a short period of time, because the only way to really gain financial freedom is through owning a house.
Yep.
So when people are coming to me right now and they're concerned about whether they should buy, whether they should keep renting, number one, I feel personally inside with every inch of my soul that owning a house is the best way to be, because you own your own future by owning a house. And then secondly, if something does go wrong and you're, like income is either you're underemployed or you're not employed, it's way easier to call a bank, especially in a pandemic like we're in right now, and say, hey, I can't make my payment right now, and they can move it to the back of the loan, versus call a landlord who their banks aren't going to be very receptive to investors as well as they are going to be to people that own the house as their primary residence.
Yeah, I think that I want to stop you for a minute, because I really do think that's an important point to really reiterate. It's, a lot of people, my cat just joined us for the hi, say hi, Oreo. Okay, go away now.
Oreo's so cute.
A lot of people are, in this mindset right now of, I can't buy a house, I shouldn't buy a house because, I won't be able to make the payments, or I'm not sure. But to your point, a bank is a much easier person to deal with when it comes to this kind of a situation, right? A bank is a larger corporation who's being bailed out by the government right now, or will be at some point, we're probably sure. And so with that, they're able to extend a little bit more leeway, a little bit more wiggle room. A landlord is probably a single person who owns 2, 3, 5, 10 houses, and they weren't really banking on or expecting anything like this to happen, because how could they? How would they, right? Other than a recession, most people don't technically prepare for things like this to happen. And so, understandably, they're not quite as prepared. So, the idea of buying a home should definitely not be off the table for those who still are able to make it happen, whether it's through a loan approval or through a special loan program or through one of those down payment assistance programs. If you can still buy a house, it's definitely smart to do it, because you're going to have to pay a rent payment or a mortgage payment or a housing payment anyway. Why not pay it to yourself? But I think the stronger message on that is, wouldn't you rather call a bank and have them push you off versus have a emotional landlord talking to you, telling you what's going to not happen or what's going to happen? So I just wanted to reiterate that briefly. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's a great point. And another point you brought up is, down payment assistance. So when I got into the first house that I got into 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, it's almost 2 months short of it, I was afraid because of where it was. I didn't want to take money out of my own pocket. So what I did is I took a little higher interest rate to get a grant program, because at that point in time I felt more secure having reserves in my bank account and then not putting any money down. So those options are still available. And sometimes people say, oh, well, the rate's higher. At that point in time, I didn't care, because anything was worth renting.
Right.
And eventually I ended up getting out of that. So there still are those kind of programs out there that can help you get into the house if you need to get into a house.
I think we were talking the other day about how we've pushed pretty hard in the last month on that $20K down payment assistance program that we've talked about. The home is Hope for Home. Sorry, what's it called again?
Hope Brings You Home.
Oh, I almost had it. Hope Brings You Home.
Yeah,
there's so many
you were
H's.
Close.
Hope Brings You Home. And I know that there's been several of our clients that we already had kind of in the process of looking for a home on that program, who are now a little bit scared because we got word that the program is on pause, or that might have run out of money, or we're not sure kind of where it stands. I was really excited to hear that, you were able to really kind of shift gears with those clients who might have been losing out on that program because the money ran out or possibly ran out, into another program. So can you talk about that, how there are so many different types of programs available?
Well, the beautiful thing, there are different programs available for the down payment assistance, and most of them have to do with your income. So some of them have a little higher income levels, some of them have lower income levels that they can do. But here's the beauty of right now, like in Las Vegas before this hit, you were fighting multiple offers, so people were having a really hard time getting, especially first-time home buyers in that price range, were having a hard time getting into houses. Right now I'm hearing there's still multiple offers, but not as many
Right.
on the table. So right now, what I've been telling people to do is, hey, go in and ask for closing costs from the seller. So the seller's paying your closing costs, and then we can get the grant for your down payment. So it's doing the same as what the other program was doing. The other program gave $20,000, and unfortunately they had to take that money and redirect it to other things in the
Right.
state that are going to help people with what's going on
Right.
on that program. But these other programs, you can get the down payment, and then you can ask the seller for the closing costs. So you're still accomplishing the same goal, getting into a house, keeping the money that you have in the bank account, or just getting into a house without having any money in your account. You know,
Right.
whatever direction it is, it'll still help you accomplish the goal of home ownership.
Right. And I think the other big question we're getting is, if I have cash, can I swing in and get a screaming deal on a house right now? The answer to that is we're not quite really very sure right now what's going on. We've got a couple of weeks left, I think, before we really get a sense of balance with what's going to be happening and what the long-term effects of this are. But, we've seen a couple of people who are sellers who are in panic mode who, are, I'm just making numbers up, listed at $350, and all of a sudden they got a cash buyer that came in last week offering $300, and some of them are saying yes because they want to, they might have lost their job, they might need that money to start living on until they can figure out what happens next. So I think it's important for anybody who's wondering about that, because that's been a big question from sellers here in Vegas specifically and buyers is, can I get a good deal? And oh my God, am I going to lose a bunch of equity in my home because of what's happening? And and my real direction to everybody is kind of just pause for a minute, take a deep breath, don't act out of panic, and whatever you do, don't let fear drive your decisions is always my biggest, motivating, like, hey, do me a favor, don't let fear win today. But at the end of the day, there are some people who are allowing that to happen because they're in a predicament on their side of things. With every single real estate transaction, every seller and every buyer has a different circumstance, and the motivation on both sides of that are always going to be different. So I can't give a blanket statement, that applies to everybody, because it's just not going to be the same from one case to the next. But I think it's important to just focus on, what's your motivation, what's your timeline, your true timeline, and if it's a hurried one, or if it's one that wants to take advantage, so to say, of what might be happening or someone else's fear, we can look into opportunities like that. But I wouldn't bank on coming in and cleaning house and putting 5 or 10 houses in your pocket right now for like 5 cents on the dollar, because we're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Would you
Hopefully
agree?
we don't get there.
I don't believe we will. I don't see us turning into what happened after 2008, because of that was such a different situation. It was banking fraud and all those weird programs, those 5-in-1 arms and stuff that were just putting people in situations they weren't ready to get out of or couldn't get out of. They were set up for failure, in a lot of senses. And so this is obviously a very different experience. We were experiencing a beautiful economy right before this happened. We were seeing house prices I think we just hit a record median price here in Las Vegas. I think it was like 316-ish, just before this happened. So, our prices are a little bit inflated, and it's due to the low inventory. We've got a lot of stuff going on in town. So I just don't want people to get caught up into thinking like, oh, all of a sudden, we're going to, come in and clean house, or on the reverse of it, oh my God, all of a sudden if I sell my house right now, I'm going to lose everything I could get. Like, it's just not true, and it just really depends on both sides of the situation before you can factor those in. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Amber, on just in general, as you look to the future? And by the future, I mean, it's hard to say 1 year out right now. I mean, most people aren't even thinking about a year out. They're thinking about next week, next month, 6 months from now. Mm-hmm. What's some advice you can give to anybody who may be experiencing, job loss or definite reduction in hours, and the fear that comes with that as it relates to rent or a mortgage? What are your, I guess, what's your guidance to them?
I just say hang in there. What I'm telling people, that because there's been a lot of people that were in contract on a house and then, are considering canceling contract because of loss of income or loss of hours.
Yeah.
And so what I'm just saying is, hey, we're all in this boat together right now. I'm just picking up the phone to the other people on the other side of the transaction and letting them know what happened. Everybody completely understands. So just hang tight, because we're all going to figure it out together when it comes down. And here are my thoughts on what's happening. Unlike what we saw in the future or in the past, like 10, 12 years ago, that moved kind of slow. Like, there was a progression to get there. Mm-hmm. This hit us, bam, fast. We got hit fast. So with something like that, I'm just kind of looking at comparing what I've seen in the past and what I'm seeing right now. And I know it's not comparable, but I'm thinking that we're going to overcome it fast. And I know all of us are going to band together. I mean, I know I'm saying as soon as this is over, I need to go out spending again because we need to contribute to the economy to be able to get it moving again. And I've heard many other people saying the same things, just like that. So I think that, and fast could be, and I don't think it's going to be a month, of course, but I think that we're not going to be in this lull for a very long time. That's what I'm thinking, and I could be an optimist right there. I try to be an optimist in what I do, but I'm thinking that we're starting this so fast, which means it'll probably end fast.
That's my gut as well. So we both are doing our best to kind of just follow the trend, and we're not minimizing the reality of what's going on. We're just trying to help people get a little bit of perspective. I think that perspective is the key here. I keep bumping my camera. Sorry, everybody's like, whoa, Lacey, where are you going? I think perspective is key, and I think we're all going to have our own opinions, and there's the naysayers and there's the negative articles of we're going to see a recession like we've never seen, and there's just the media is swinging us from one side to the next in such a big way. I'm dizzy from it. So I've kind of opted to pay attention and take nuggets from each and every one of those moments, whether it be an article or a news report, but just to understand that the media's job is to get us to click. The media's job is to get us to tune in, and the coronavirus is helping them out with that in a big way. And so our job is to really keep perspective, keep our opinions grounded, talk to professionals who are in the actual industries that people are reporting on, and locally, specifically local people, because you can't have some analyst out of New York writing for the New York Times telling us what's going to happen in Vegas if they're not here with their boots on the ground knowing what's really happening in our state. So just really, I just think it's really important to keep perspective. So
I totally agree. And keep it at a limit too. I mean, just like with my, and I hate to throw more personal stuff into this, but with my kids, I tell them to limit social media. I tell them to limit game playing to 2 hours a day.
Yep.
I'm taking that same limit to myself, because who needs 24 hours of the news on? It's only going to get in my head and make me feel negative. So a matter of limiting it and hearing what I need to hear to be able to move on through the day, and then move on. Like, we're going to have to figure out how to roll with this storm that we're in. So no, I totally agree with what you're saying there.
I think, there's just a couple other questions that I've been getting from people. It's mainly, what do I do if I'm in the process of buying a house and I just lost my job? So obviously the answer is call your loan officer, call your real estate professional, and make sure you talk through what's going on. You might be able to save it. So don't assume you don't get to buy the house, because have saved several deals in the last week just with different things that you've tried, correct?
Yeah, everybody that I'm talking to, because we're all in the same boat. Sometimes people are upset, but it's only because the anxieties are high on every level of this right now,
Yep.
So some people are upset, but you can still talk them through it, still talk them down, because we're truly all in this together. And we know that the businesses are going to come back at some point. So it's just a matter of talking to the listing agents. I wouldn't say jump and cancel. I would just say try to talk it through with them, see how much time you could buy, because we don't know where this storm ends. We don't know the outcome of it. We don't know anything right now. Every single person is day to day right now. So work it day to day. Try to, keep yourself calm, and let's just see where the future brings us. But for the moment, hold on to the house that you can.
Yeah.
By calling your real estate professional and your loan officer.
Yeah, I would agree. So that's been the biggest question is, oh my God, I was going to move to Vegas next month. Do I need to cancel? What am I doing? I'm already in contract. A lot of people are buying new homes, and they're concerned about the construction timelines, and they're concerned about what's even happening, because they may have given notice to a job already and they were planning to move here officially in 2 months or something. So I can tell you safely that all of the builders, we did definitely hit pause last week. Nobody knew, how do you show a house if you're not allowed to be in contact with people? How do you let people in your house if you're listing your home for sale right now and you're not sure what anybody has on them, as far as the virus goes? So it's definitely been an adjustment, to say the least. But oh my God, if I bump this camera one more time, I'm going to shoot somebody. It's definitely,
you just did it.
I just did it. I know. It's given an adjustment, to say the least. But my point in all of this is construction workers and and housing is deemed essential business, so they are still on track with building. There have been some minor delays, but I feel like they might make up for it once things kind of get back to normal. whatever our new normal is going to be. So for any of you who are questioning that or wondering about that, there's definitely still stuff moving, still sticks going up in the air. Plumbing is being installed. If you already have a house in contract, please stay in contract and stay focused. And there might be small delays, but I haven't seen anything major as of yet. The other thing we're seeing is the house builders have these standing inventory homes, or these kind of like quick sale homes that might have fallen through in the past, might have, somebody just changed their mind and then they were already stuck with what they had chosen. And so they're continuing to build it out. Those homes are actually going for a really great discounted rate right now. Excuse me. And what's great about that is, if you have a real estate professional, they're going to know the proper way to go ahead and negotiate on that price for you to get you a better deal. So if you are still considering buying, that's definitely something to look at. You could get a brand new home, not be concerned about any kind of virus of any kind, and get a pretty stinking good deal on it. So that's been a big question too, about construction, and are we still building and what's happening? Yeah, we're still building. There's small delays, but we've definitely still continued with the building process. We did get a question just now. Are there down payment closing cost programs available even if you use a VA-backed loan?
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yes, there definitely is. There's a couple different ones for the VA. There's one that will help you get a lower interest rate, but you don't get any closing costs for that. VA is already 100% financing. Or there's one that will give you money back towards your closing costs. Sometimes if you've had a past foreclosure or bankruptcy in your past, VA will make you put a down payment so you could use it for that too. So there's definitely lots of things that you could do on VA.
Okay, awesome. That's a really good question. Thank you, Calvin. If anybody else has questions, we'll be answering them for another few minutes. And then, we are always available if you want a one-on-one discussion and assessment. We're never going to pressure you. Amber and I are here more than ever just to help give you guidance and help you feel better about whatever the heck's going on in your world as it relates to what we're dealing with here. So I did go ahead in the comment section, I did place a link to contact us. It just goes to a form. Our assistant will get back to you and schedule a call, and then we can, answer your questions, get you going. I got to be honest, Amber, I'm still getting a lot of people reaching out asking about buying here, about moving here. People still planning to arrive like as early as next week. Full-blown moving trucks, the whole thing. So, life still has to proceed and move on, even though this coronavirus is happening. We're all doing our best to abide by the social distancing rules and self-isolation and all of that. But at the end of the day, life still has to go on. People gave notice to their landlords 2 weeks ago. They're going to be out by the end of the month. They still have to have somewhere to live. So, back to the moment where you, earlier in the very early part of the broadcast, where you were talking about how, people still have to have a place to live, right? You're still going to have to pay a housing payment. So if you're in that mode, or you're already in the process of moving here, keep that process moving forward, and just let us know if you need help or questions answered or whatever on what the city looks and feels like now before you get here, so we can help you understand what to do when you arrive. But at the end of the day, you still got to have a place to live. And people seem to think oh, I guess we're all supposed to stay home, and they're getting upset at people who are out there still working. But if you're an essential business, we have to keep working, because otherwise people will be homeless. You know what I mean? They'll just be arriving in town with their U-Haul, sleeping in your U-Haul because they won't have anywhere to go. So it's really been an interesting balance for all of us, trying to keep people focused and motivated, and letting them know, if you're already in progress, let's keep this baby moving. And then on the other side, people who were going to come, keeping them focused on it, we're going to be okay, and it's going to come back. We're going to be okay. I've got Aaliyah is asking, do you have any tips for people who are first-time buyers during this time? What about you, Amber? And then I'll throw my 2 cents in.
For first-time home buyers during this time, well, like I was explaining before, there's no better place to be where you're feeling the comfort of being a homeowner versus a renter. I know that there's probably not as much security that you're feeling being stuck in an apartment right now or in a house. So I don't think home is ever going to be more important than it is right now.
Yep.
For a first-time home buyer, the thing about right now is that I've seen a lot of people that this is their first time buying a house, and they're able to ask the seller to pay for their closing costs. So that's being covered when that was very hard to get before, right now. And there's still grant programs out there if you need it. So I think it's a great time for a first-time home buyer to be able to get into a house. Plus, the prices of houses that were that are more in the first-time home buyer category, they had so many offers on them, you couldn't even get to them before.
It was very competitive,
Yeah, very competitive, and a lot of it was investors paying cash for them, and so you couldn't even try to get into them. So right now, you have that ability when a lot of people just backed away before
Yep.
because you didn't really have the ability to get into the houses that were, a little bit lower in price.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
I think
that's
it's a great time.
very good point from that perspective. Most of the time first time home buyers are trying to buy within the 250 to 350 range. I mean, that's about kind of average for what we're seeing here on our team. And we've seen a lot of people who are very fortunate to not be affected by the layoffs and by all of the stuff that's happening, and they're still working and they're still earning money. And they were already thinking of buying, and it's like, well, why not be smart and utilize this time when everything is slow and slowed down and there's not as much competition, to your point. And then I think my tips for you would be identify who your person is, who your real estate professional is, and who your loan professional is. Obviously, Amber and I do these videos for you, and we try to bring value because we know that we serve clients in the same fashion. She and I have the same business model as it goes to serving people and making sure that we fight the bloody knuckle death, to make sure everything goes well. So we would love to work with anybody who's considering buying. And, I have a team of agents, and I know you have an entire team of people who work with you too, but, we're the conduit, and we make sure that things go well. So first and foremost, choose your people, find your people. If it's not me, cool. Find someone who works for you in the way that you need them to work. And, we would love to help you with that. But that's step one. Step one is find the right people who you can trust. Step two is, start talking about what's possible, what programs are available, what you could qualify for, what the timelines look like, what's available, what the prices are. Like, all those questions start to come out through those conversations. And then step three is have fun and start shopping, whether it's virtually right now because you maybe don't live here or even are here but are self-quarantining or isolating yourself. But, the fun part is the shopping. So it's just a couple of small steps in advance of that. And then we get to do the fun stuff, which is the shopping. And yeah, we are evolving. We're doing more virtual tours. Our team has been largely focused on virtual tours for 3 years now. We've been doing this with a lot of our out-of-state buyers. Anybody who's ever worked with us can tell you we will go and do a very detailed walkthrough of the home and make sure that you get a sense of what it feels like, flows like, smells like, looks like from our experience inside that home. If you can't physically be here, let us at least be your eyes and ears on the ground. So that's really it. I mean, it's really the tips for you are dig in now. If you're lucky enough to have the opportunity to buy, dig in now. Another thing too is there's a lot of investors that are pulling money out of the stock market right now. A lot of them. They're scared. They're pulling it off the market. They don't want to let it sit there and possibly go up and down anymore. So they need to put those monies in a hard asset like real estate so that they can protect it until everything kind of evens out. So if you're an investor or someone who has money from the stock market that you'd like to park somewhere, a home in Las Vegas, of course, would be a wonderful place to land that money and let it still, even though we know it's going to be like this for a little while, just let it sit there for a minute. Real estate's a long-term investment, and we want to make sure that everybody who is, landing their money into the real estate market understands that. It's not a place to park and then get an immediate return, at least not now, not right in this moment or in this season. But we do think that it's a smart place to park your money if you need to put it somewhere. So, if you are in that mode, whether it's a new buyer, someone who's never purchased before, or it's someone who's done this a few times and or even hasn't done this a few times and just needs to invest their money, we can serve both sides of that equation, and we have been for a long, long time. We have processes and virtual experiences that we've created as our team that nobody else does. So we're really excited about that. Cool. I'm not seeing too many other questions. I know coming on this early in the morning, people are sleeping in. They're working from home, baby. They're trying to take advantage of that homework life. They're sleeping in. So here's what I would say, Amber, is, being that it's an early morning broadcast, I'm hoping that people will rewatch this and they might click the link and want to ask more questions. Why don't we come back on again either tomorrow or the next day and do another update and just continue these Q&A sessions every day or every couple of days to make sure people know that we're always going to continue to show up and we're going to keep answering questions. And what we can do to anybody who's watching right now is we can also pre-promote those in terms of like schedule them on my YouTube channel. So, and you should be able to submit questions in advance. We'll figure out something like that so that you guys can do that. So stay tuned.
Okay.
If you're watching this, please subscribe to the channel so you're made alert. You're given an alert when we actually go live. There's a little bell that you can click and it'll let you know. Please comment below with any questions. We'll revisit this video and look for any questions that have been unanswered. I think at the end of the day, we just want to keep showing up as people who genuinely care, and we want you to not be listening to all the freaks on one side of the fence or the other. We want you to find yourself somewhere in the middle and just understand that we're all going to get out of this. We're bringing a message of hope. We believe wholeheartedly that we're going to come back and come back stronger than ever, just because of what we know about our city and what we've seen leading up to this. There's a pent-up desire to move to Las Vegas and a pent-up desire to buy homes here. And so we know that that's going to come right back as soon as we see things even out. It's so difficult to make decisions and conversations solid right now, knowing that we have really no idea when we're going to be released to go back to normal. So until then, we're going to keep the hope alive. I've got a candle. This is my candle with a waving flame. Keep the hope alive. That's horrible.
I love it.
So, all right, Amber, any last thoughts?
I just want to say I feel like there's light in the middle of any storm. And right now we're just kind of in a storm right now. So there's going to be some good things that come out of it. You know, like I'm trying to lead my life. You know, we're all dealing with it in our own ways, and we have moments of good and then moments of bad. I'm just trying to, lead mine without any fear, and know and have faith that everything's going to be okay.
It really is. It really is. Okay, I'm totally breaking the rules, but there's 2 questions that just came in, and I want to make sure we answer them. One of them is, we filed for bankruptcy last year. We would be first-time buyers. Would it be difficult to get a home or a condo knowing that we've done that?
No, it's not. Yeah, the rules of the past, and rules are going to probably change when all this comes down, because they usually do lighten things up. Because typically what happens is they're going to try to bring back the economy, starting with housing. So when that happens, there's some more leniency when it comes to credit things and stuff like that. But where the rules are right now is that you have to wait 2 years until you buy a house. Now, I've had people that went through really unforeseen circumstances, and that was the reason why they had to file for the bankruptcy.
Right.
So then you could do it after a year. So if it's something that you want to see if you fit within those unforeseen circumstances, just give me a call. We'll talk about it. We'll see what your reasons were for it, and then you'll know if you'll have to wait another year to get in a house, or if we can go for it right now.
Cool.
So, but there's still ways to be able to do that.
And I think even if this moment it's sorry we can't, but maybe 6 months from now, to your point, when they evolve things and change things, it's just staying in touch with your people, your Amber, your Lacey, your whoever, staying in touch with us, because we can give you those updates as we get them, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and then we're gonna sign off. Last question, or not really a question. 2 people actually said. One person said, just discovered your channel yesterday and I subscribed. I want to thank you both, and I'll be in contact soon to buy a home when we rent in Henderson, and we're ready for home ownership very soon. So that's awesome. Good to hear. And totally off subject, but someone was asking, I got to figure this out because someone was asking about this skateboard deck, so I just want to give a shout out. This was designed by a very close friend of mine. He's a street artist named Snipt, S-N-I-P-T. If you want to check him out on Instagram, Facebook, and I think he has a website. He's amazing, and he made this for me. So somebody asked about it, and I'm trying to figure out what side of the screen it's on. So anyway, thanks again for tuning in, everybody. We really appreciate it. We are here for you. Do not be afraid to reach out. We don't care if you don't plan on buying a house tomorrow. If you just need someone to ease your fears or give you a little bit more of a personalized feedback on what you're going through, please click the link. It's in the comments below, and I'm going to add it to the description once we're done going live. We love you. We're here for you. We are Vegas strong and Vegas stronger for the rest of our lives. We always will be. The city will never be the same after all that we've been through in the last, really 5 years. And this is just one more thing, one more feather in our cap. We overcame that. We got this. We're good. So
yes,
hang in there. Thank you again, Amber, for always making time for me and for the people on this channel. I know that we all appreciate you and your insight, and just love you. Just love you so much. So stay safe.
Love you too.
Thank
you for having me. I always appreciate coming on.
Thanks. Amber and I are going to be back in the next day or 2, so stay tuned for that. We'll schedule that on YouTube. If you have any questions, please feel free to click the link. Otherwise, stay safe. We love you. Keep your head up. Go outside, for crying out loud. Get some fresh air, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.